All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Kodash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who are learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today, the inspiration for this lesson comes from, an old Marvin Gaye song, where he's pretty much talking about, the things that were going on back then, and the name of the song is called Mercy, Mercy Me, the ecology or ecology, however you want to say it. And pretty much, if, other brothers out there like me, when you're growing up, you heard this song before, which is a good song to listen to. But again, man, it just goes to show you that, again, music during that time, it had meaning, and the artists, they were really, they were really talking about real life things, So I'm just going to read the lyrics to the song and then bring out a couple of scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And to remind you, this song came out in 1971, right? So it says, "Woe, oh, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be. And things aren't what they used to be, man. Times were simpler, back then, but even back then in the 70s, man, yeah, man, it was rough, depending on, where you were, but it was a lot going on, man. He is talking about the things that were going on back then, right? So it says, no, where did all the blue skies go? Poison is in the wind that blows from the north and the south and the east. So, right, man, he's talking about chemtrails, right? And let's bring out a little info on that, which, those of us that are in the know, we know that chemtrails indeed are a real thing, but ChatGPT and, Google, they're trying to say it's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy, it's facts. All you have to do is look up in the sky and you'll see the planes spraying heavy metals in the air, which is why, one of the reasons why a lot of people, get sick or have, respiratory issues because of the different heavy metals and other things that they're spraying in the air, man. And there's one area in particular in the city where I work, they spray a lot over there, man, and this is not, again, it's not conspiracy. These are facts, man. So just, let's see. It says chemtrails is a term that comes from the conspiracy theory suggesting that the white trails left behind by high-flying aircraft, known specifically as chemtrails, are actually chemical or biological agents deliberately sprayed into the atmosphere for nefarious purposes such as weather control, population control, or mind control. And this is exactly what it is. It's used for all three of those things I just named. Weather control indeed, man, because, again, man, we already know about the HARP program, the HAA, the, HAARP, that, the weather, the weather modification program that they do, is no secret. It's been brought out time and time again that, Esau Edom is messing with the weather. And chemtrails is just one way. And again, it says population control, man, because some of that stuff that they spray in the air, man, it can take you out, And just like it says mind control, again, man, it messes people up. It messes with their respiratory system and it also messes with their mind, because again, like heavy metals in the brain is not good. And then again, they're spraying it over us, especially in cities, man. It may not be as bad in rural areas, but this is what they're doing, man. It's not a conspiracy. It's fact. And they're trying to say, oh, well, it's not this, it's that, whatever, man. It's fact, not fiction. So let's continue. It says, woe, mercy, mercy me, mercy. Oh, things ain't what they used to be. Oil wasted on the ocean and upon our seas, fish full of mercury. Oh, oh, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be. Oh no. So right, now he's talking about, you know, oil being in the oceans, right? And the fish being, having, or fish being full of mercury, right? So I meant not to close that out. But again, then once I heard that lyric, I instantly thought of, the oil spill that took place in the Gulf of Mexico, 15 years ago. So not to bring out the whole article on it, just, a little bit of info, but this took place between Tuesday, April 20th, 2010 to Sunday, September 19th, 2010. So this lasted about 5 months. Again, this oil spill, it says 11 deaths and 17 injuries that were non-fatal. So it says the overview, I'll just get it on Wiki. It says the Deepwater Horizon oil spill was an environmental disaster beginning April 20th, 2010 off the coast of the United States in the Gulf of Mexico on the BP-operated Macondo prospect. It is considered the largest marine oil spill in the history of the petroleum industry and estimated to be 8 to 31% larger in volume than the previous largest. The X, let me see, I'm trying to, if that's an I don't know if that's an I or an L. Well, yeah, that's, an I, but I think it's Ixtoc 1 oil spill, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it says also in the Gulf of Mexico. So again, let's look that up real quick. So yeah, man, look at this. It says the Ixtoc 1 oil spill was an exploratory. It's lucky. The Ixtoc 1 was an exploratory oil well being drilled by the semi-submersible drilling rig Sitco 135 in the Bay of Campeche, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, of the Gulf of Mexico, about 100 kilometers, 62 miles northwest of Ciudad del Carmen, Campeche, and the waters 50 meters, 164 feet deep. On June 3rd, 1979, the well suffered a blowout resulting in the largest oil spill in history at its time. To date, it remains the second largest oil spill in history after the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, which is what I'm bringing out now, right? So again, picking up where I left off, it says caused in the aftermath of the blowout and explosion on the Deepwater Horizon oil platform. The United States federal government estimated the total discharge at 4.9 million barrels, 210 million U.S. gallons, 780,000. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be meters. I'm not sure. It's lucky. It says, after several failed efforts to contain the flow, the well was declared sealed on September 19, 2010. Reports in early 2012 indicated that the well site was still leaking. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill is regarded as one of the largest environmental disasters in the world. So, right, man, you have oil spills, right? Oil spills in the water. And then he said fish full of mercury, right? So just quick Google search. So it's, I just put it in fish that contain mercury, right? So it says certain fish contain high levels of mercury and should be eaten in moderation, especially by pregnant women, nursing mothers, and young children. These include shark, which is unlawful, swordfish, if as long as it has fins and scales, is lawful, king mackerel, it's lawful, tilefish, I'm not sure, I have to look that one up, and big eye tuna, which is lawful, says tuna in general can be a source of mercury, with albacore tuna having the highest levels than light tuna, right? It says fish to avoid or limit. These are the particular fish that have high levels of mercury in them. So sharks, swordfish, king mackerel, tilefish. Says these are generally considered high in mercury and should be avoided, especially by vulnerable populations. Big eye tuna, another fish with elevated levels of mercury. Ahi tuna, marlin, orange roughy, Chilean sea bass, excuse me, Slovakia, also tend to contain higher amounts of mercury. So again, man, this is fact, man. This is what Marvin Gaye was talking about, man. You know? So again, it's not a long song at all, man. You know? So just read the last few lyrics. And it says, radiation underground and in the sky. Animals and birds who live nearby are dying. Oh, mercy, mercy me. Ah, things ain't what they used to be. What about this overcrowded land? How much more abuse from man can she stand? And he singing like, it's true, right? So again, also brought it a little more information, right? So I just put it, it's like, yeah, I just put in radiation pits, but it just went to something else, man. Cause I don't know exactly what that's going into specifically, but again, they do have radiation underground, right? So it says pit for a nuclear weapon. It says in nuclear weapon design, the pit is the core. No, this is going into, what's inside the missiles. We already know about that, or should know. But they do have, all right, well, I'll do this. Plutonium pits, right? It says a plutonium pit is the central plutonium containing core of a nuclear weapon, acting as a critical component to trigger the explosion. The U.S. government, is currently working to restore its ability to produce new pits, aiming at least 80 pits per year by 2030. Like, come on, man. ESON 2030, man. It says because most of the pits in the existing stockpile are aging and their performance could be affected by radioactive decay over time. Production is occurring at two sites, the Savannah River site, SRS, in South Carolina, and the Los Alamos National Laboratory, or LANL, in New Mexico. So again, man, these are just two states where they're producing plutonium, where they're making these plutonium pits, man. And if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago, I think it was earlier this year, they brought nuclear waste to Michigan, Wayne County, Michigan to be exact. I don't know which city they took it to, but there was an uproar, an uproar about it, man. Because again, why are you bringing nuclear waste here? Instead of finding a way to properly dispose of it. And just like it says, the animals are dying. Animals are dying, man. He has animals in zoos. Deforestation. This goes to show you that, again, man, the whole earth is suffering up under the rulership of Esau Edom, man, because this is hell. And Marvin Gaye was singing about what was going on back in the 70s, man. This song came out in 1971. If he was speaking about these things back then, how much more worse are things now 54 years later, man? They're much worse, man. Again, there's spraying chemtrails everywhere. The ocean is full of trash, man. They literally have a trash island about the size of Texas, if not bigger. Again, animals are suffering deforestation. Therefore, they're forced to, migrate, into the cities to try to find food. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And we're not making this up, man. This goes to show you that the whole earth is suffering, right? So I'm just going to start with this, and then I'm going to come right back to it, right? So this is the book of Romans chapter 8 and verse 22. And it says, "For we know that the whole creation groaneth, that travaileth in pain together until now." And right, man, the whole earth is groaning, man. You know, us, the people, we're groaning, especially, you know, the Israelites. We are. Even the heathens, man, you know, they're suffering up under this man's rulership. You know, the animals are suffering. You know, the land animals, the sea animals, man. You know, every living being on the planet Earth is suffering up under this man's rulership, you know? So let me see. You know what? First, I'll grab that. I'm going to go to Job chapter 9 and verse 24. It says, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, wherein who is he?" And right, man, the earth is indeed given into the hand of the wicked. This is how you know who's in rulership, man, because of the things that are happening on the earth, right? You know? So I'm going to grab Proverbs chapter 2. It's like Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. And it says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn." And right, man, you know, it's not only the people that are mourning, man. The animals are mourning, you know. The animals are even suffering up under this man's rulership, you know. Because if the people are mourning, how much more the animals? They have to live here too, you know. And again, man, this man is literally destroying the earth. But what does it say? You know, what did the Lord say he's going to do? He's going to destroy them that destroy the earth, right? So if I remember correctly, it's in Revelation chapter, I think, 19, if not 19. Slucky. Revelation chapter 11 and verse 18. It says, "And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth." And right, man, you know, that's the time that we're coming into, you know, heavy judgment, because the Lord is going to reward, you know, the prophets, you know, and the saints, which are Israelites, man. You know, the saints are the Israelites, not you other nations, you know. And again, man, the main point that I want to get in this verse of Revelation 11 and 18 is the latter part where he said he should destroy those, or he should destroy them which destroy the earth. And who was destroying the earth? Esau, man. And it didn't take him that long to do it. You know, this man has been in rulership, at least here in America, since, you know, the 1700s, man. So he's been ruling over here, and it didn't take him that long, man. It's roughly only taking him really a couple hundred years to destroy the earth, man. You know, because even under the rulership of the other nations, the heathen nations, they didn't even do these things, man. You know, they didn't do the things that Esau is doing, you know. So again, man, this man, we need the Lord. This just goes to show you that we need the Lord, man, because again, obviously, you know, Marvin Gaye wasn't a man of the Lord by any means, but again, man, he was singing about the things that were going on. The man is still an Israelite, you know. So if he's not back on the earth again in the reincarnation, then he's in the spirit world, you know. Because again, man, this song is still relevant. A lot of songs that were made back then in the 70s, they're still relevant today, man, you know. And this is just one of the few songs that I've done, you know, lessons on, which, you know, it makes sense because of the things that the particular artists were talking about, I did a song about B.B. King, how he was singing about, catching hell, man. How he was catching hell, right? Marvin Gaye is singing about how the earth is pretty much messed up, under this man's rulership, And this is why we need the Lord to come back and restore order in the earth, man. Because otherwise, if we don't, Esau is going to destroy us all, including himself, So, I'm going to come back to Romans chapter 8, and I'm going to end it. This is the book of Romans chapter 8 and verse 19. And it says, for the earnest I'm a little excited. Romans chapter 8 and verse 19. It says, for the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. Right, man? The whole earth, man. Everybody's waiting, for the sons of God, to get back in power. And who are the sons of God? The Israelites, man. Starting with the elect. Because we know that once the Israelites get back in power under our Lord Yahweh Shai and King David, the earth is going to be at peace, it's going to be at rest, man. We're not going to have to deal with the things that we're dealing with anymore, under this man. The earth is truly going to be at peace. You nations, you're going to serve us, for that 1,000-year captivity, then eventually you'll be able to go back to your own lands, but you will still have to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. If you don't, then, we're going to deal with you, But again, you're waiting for us to get back in power because you know that the earth is going to be peaceful again, right? Verse 20 says, for the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected him. But by reason of him who hath subjected the same in hope. So right, man, the Lord, he put us in these sinful bodies, so we're subject to sin, so no matter what we do, we're going to go off, but again, this is why we hope, for that deliverance from these bodies and this captivity, Verse 21, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God, right? We're going to receive those new bodies, because this is the bondage of corruption, these chains of darkness, just like it's spoken of in the book of Jude, those angels that left their first estate is talking about the sons of God, the Israelites, because we were supposed to be immortal, but obviously, that didn't happen. But once our Lord Yahweh Shai comes back and delivers the elect, that's going to be the beginning of Israel becoming immortal, Verse 22, and this is the last verse, and it says, for we know that the whole earth groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. So right, man, this is the main point of the lesson. The whole earth is groaning up under the rulership of Esau, Edom, because this man is destroying the earth, man. It didn't take him that long to do it. It only took him a couple 100 years to get the earth in the shape that it's in. Everything is against Esau, man. The people, the animals, the earth itself is against this man, which is why he has to be destroyed, and which he will. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say, Shalom.